I had my daughter 2 weeks after graduating high school, and it took me 8 years to then get my bachelor's degree. And in that time, I then had my second kid in there.
This is what you had shared with the team. I feel like I've dragged my husband backwards financially with bringing 2 kids into the relationship and no savings or 401k before the last 3 years, while he's been contributing to a 401k for the last 12 years.
We just live a hectic life. Like,
Yeah,
there's
sure, I
always
get it.
something coming up.
You're in the messy middle.
Beginning to take your finances seriously is a new thing for you guys.
Yes.
So here's the question. Can you do it?
I'm 32,
Okay.
which is weird to say. Still feel like I'm in my 20s.
You always will.
I'm about to say that's the same.
Hope so.
So how many children do you guys have?
We have 4 together. I came into the relationship with 2 kids.
Okay.
And then we just had 2, and they're a year apart. So our house is a little crazy right now.
Oh wow. So what are the ages? What's our span here from oldest child in the house to youngest child in the house?
13, 9, 17 months, and 4 months.
Oh wow. So it sounds like, in just the most wonderful way, your middle's kind of messy right now. Is that
yeah.
right? Is that? It sounds like that, right?
Yes.
Oh
You're
man.
knee deep in it right
That is
now.
a
yeah.
full
I haven't
gamut.
slept the full night in about 2 years
I
now.
love
Yeah.
it. All right. So 32 years old. Aaron, how old are you?
I'm 35.
35. Awesome. And then what do you guys do professionally?
I'm a design engineer.
Okay.
I make stuff pretty. Surfacing and all that stuff. I was very artsy growing up, so kind of in line with that.
I love it.
Because it's in engineering, is it also kind of a marriage between being creative and artsy, but also being somewhat analytical?
It
in
has
the
to
fact
be
that, yeah,
has to be functional as well.
yeah, that's great. That's cool. That's a cool
It's
skill
fun.
set.
That's part of the challenge, and that's why I enjoy it so much.
Yeah.
I make nothing pretty. I want to be very clear. That just seems so foreign to me. Caitlin, what about you?
I'm an ESOP analyst.
An ESOP analyst. Holy cow.
Yeah, I always get really excited when you guys talk about ESOPs
I'm
on the
about to
show because I'm like,
say,
I
yeah.
understand everything.
I love it. ESOP is awesome. Cool. So, one of the things we do here is we talk about, okay, where folks are. And I think it'd be helpful. You guys were kind enough to share with us sort of where you are right now financially. So we put together a little pseudo net worth statement for you guys that we kind of want to walk through, right? So you send us all your statements, you send us all your information. As we sit here today, right now, when we look at the cash that you have on hand between your savings account and your Cash Plus account, have about $12,500 there. Now, our rule of thumb, generally, we like to talk about 3 to 6 months of living expenses in liquid cash. Does that cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses for you guys?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So I'm going to make a little note here. We got to talk about emergency fund at some point. All right. We have investment assets. Now you guys are, again, in your early 30s. You've already got $122,000 of investment assets saved up. Aaron, looks like you have 2 401ks. You have a new 401k and an old 401k. What's going on there?
The old one is my first job. I worked there for 10 years. Then I switched to a different venture for a year and a half, and then that started that new one.
Okay.
And now I'm back at my original job, so that first one is building continually here.
So the new 401k used to be the old 401k, but now it's the new 401k.
It's the current
old
one, yeah.
401k is the old new 401k that's now the old. I just want to make sure that I have it all
Pretty
down.
much.
I just want to make sure that I got it all down.
Yep.
So any thoughts on consolidating those two? Is there a reason
It
why
probably
you're
needs to be
keeping
done. I know.
Okay.
But before we got smart with money, I would say, my thought was, let me take that old 401k, the lower one.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some way we can invest that differently? Was my thought. But now I'm kind of like, well, probably the best investment might be just to roll into the new 401k.
Get it
right?
all consolidated,
Yeah.
working on the same sheet of music, moving in the same
So
direction.
it's also nice when things are housed in the same place. You
Yeah.
can still do something different within the same custodian,
Yep.
but it just makes the logistics of managing it so much easier.
And it's not, I'm not good at the logistics part
Right.
of things, so
Right.
it'd be good to just let it take
Get
care
it
of
all in
itself,
one.
So.
And then what about Caitlin? You have a 401k right now, has about $22,500 in that. I'm assuming that's for your current ESOP analyst position that you're in.
I had rolled over all my old ones after the first episode of Making a Millionaire
Did
when
you
they
s-
had
she
like
just
all
took
the
a shot
different
at you.
ones.
She just said, "Look, I did what I was supposed to
Gold
do."
star needs improvement is what I just heard.
I don't claim to be a financial person
His
here.
401k is why that number looks decent right
Got
now.
it.
So
Got it.
No, it is true.
And then we have a joint after-tax account. Looks like it has a couple $100 in there presently. Now we look at the other assets, right? So the non-liquid assets on your balance sheet. We have your primary residence, which has is currently valued at about $250,000. And then it looks like there are 1, 2, 3, 4 automobiles on. Walk us through that. What's going on with the 4 cars?
We have a
there's
lot more than that.
Yeah, we have like a dozen.
A dozen cars. Whoa.
Y'all were just too scared to share this in the
Holy
interview.
Well, it's like they're mostly classics, and it's hard to put a value on that.
Okay.
And a lot of them, they're not. A couple of them are nice, but they're not restored, and it's whatever someone's going to pay for. And
Was it one of those pictures that y'all sent us some pictures? Was that a Duster or what was?
Was it green?
Yeah.
So,
It was
was that like a
Duster.
1971 Duster?
74, yeah.
74 Duster. Look at that.
How'd you pull that out?
Remember, I grew up in a household. Remember, my brother and my
Car
dad
guys.
restored a bunch of cars. I'm the
sense.
only one that wasn't turning the wrenches.
So you got a dozen cars, some not
Yeah.
restored, old cars. From my understanding, how did you delineate which automobile showed up on the balance sheet versus which one did not show up on the balance sheet? Like, what is there something unique about these 4 automobiles?
I think those you can go to like NADA, KBB, and you can find the actual value of it versus all the rest of them. I mean, you can go to Haggerty, you can look at what they could be worth, but it's still like in the middle of Kansas. It's whatever someone pays for it.
Got
it. I couldn't tell you how much something was worth because its condition isn't. All the condition of these old cars are different,
Got
right? They're not restored. If it was restored, you could.
Sure.
But
Are you
these aren't.
restoring them? Is that
That's the
is this the
goal.
thing that you do? Walk
Yeah.
us through this. Like a hobby,
Yeah.
pastime, a thing
Yeah,
that you.
it's the thing she dislikes the most about my hobbies that I spend. It costs a lot of money to do this, so.
I've always been okay with your
But
cars.
yeah, she's okay with the cars, but we need to focus on.
Well, I want to know, just because I come from I have side knowledge of this, meaning growing up beside this my whole life. And like my brother and my dad would be in junkyards on the weekend, partying out
I
cars.
would too if I could.
Look at her. She just nodded her head.
I've gone with him to like the pick and pull lots a couple of times when
pick
we
and
first
pull.
started dating.
Those
and
are
I
like
would
the
come
really
visit.
fun dates, right? Where
Yeah.
you
You
get to
show
go to
up
a
with your own
junkyard.
toolbox and
Oh,
you go
yeah.
out there and you take it off. I mean, it's pretty interesting.
time, yeah.
And then also going to car shows and so all this is kind of, and then so you get all the catalogs coming in from all the different parts, places.
I don't consider myself a catalog shopper. I'm more of the junkyard guy. So I have this expensive hobby, but I try to do it as cheap as
Do you
possible.
have like are you Mopar since you have the so you're a Mopar person?
Mopar? If I was to pick an American company,
Okay.
yeah, it'd be Mopar.
Okay.
So
I'm just going to sit this one out because y'all are speaking a foreign language right
I
now.
do know some of those cars don't show up on there too because they're not going anywhere ever.
that
Okay.
and
the
there's-
Duster never going anywhere.
There's some that are extensively modified. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
So you can't there's no way to know the value of them.
Got it. So you're
I
just
have
going
to
to
ask one more question. 340 or 318 in that
I
Duster?
swapped in.
I don't know what they're talking about.
a
now.
fuel injected 318 from a mid 90s Dodge truck.
Okay. Look at that.
Which car was that?
Modernized. That's awesome.
I paid $300 for that truck.
Okay.
So I got the whole swap in there with it, and for super cheap. Like I said, I try to be as cheap
So
as
for
possible.
this hobby,
with
you're
it.
trying to be financially responsible. You're not just throwing. And look, you're nodding at that. So that
Yeah.
sounds good. This is something y'all
Yeah.
seem like y'all are on the same page about.
Oh, for sure.
It's-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so we have these automobiles that are grotesquely understated in terms of volume right now.
Yeah.
And then now we also have some 529s, some funds for the kids that are set up.
Yes.
You said you have 2 older kids and 2 younger kids, so I imagine that's why some are larger than others.
Yes.
But in total, almost $30,000 in 529 assets that you guys have built up. And then we have the debt side of the ledger. Your mortgage currently is about $159,000 at a 3.25% rate. That's a fantastic rate. There's a lot of folks who really wish that was their rate right now. For the car, it looks like the only one that has a loan on it is the Subaru.
Yes.
You owe about $29,000 on that at about 8.4%. And then both of you have some student loans. It looks like the weighted average rate is somewhere close to 4.5 to 5.5%.
And we'll dive into that
Yeah,
a little deeper. I want to know that Subaru, was that purchased with 23.8?
No.
Walk us
It
through
was
the
not.
terms on that car loan. What happened there?
We traded in 2 cars. One was underwater. And then, we went by the monthly payment after that.
I think it's safe to say it's before
It
she
was-
kind of got
yes.
into being financially responsible.
Got it.
It was,
Okay.
we bought it like
And-
April. I went on maternity leave in November.
Okay.
which I started watching a lot of YouTube and found The Money Guy.
So this is relatively new, like beginning, like looking at your finance, because I think this is important for folks to know.
Yeah.
Beginning to take your finances seriously is a new thing for you guys.
Yes.
You've recognized, hey, maybe some of the decisions we've made thus far aren't perfect, but now we want to figure out how we right the ship.
And I want you to feel you fell into the exact same trap because your numbers are actually so similar to the averages now, because I mean, y'all financed it for 72 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, so you can see that, and your payments are right a little over, was it $700 a month is
Yes.
what the minimums are. Yeah. So that's how they get you. And that's what you're right in those averages, because I think that's where the typical American is now. Their car payment's a little over $700. They're getting out beyond 70 months on the financing. So you fell into the trap. It's our job, and you guys sharing your life story is going to be hopefully what lets people see there's a better way to do money,
Yes.
so you don't have to fall into that trap.
So when we look at this, I'm curious to know, because you said you found our stuff and it's relatively new, but you're familiar with the financial order of operations, right? It's this 9-step tried and true process of what to do with your next dollar. And we think people just kind of use that as guardrails to figure out where they ought to be. If I were to ask you guys, where are you in the financial order of operations, what would your answer be?
We discussed
I know.
this. Yeah. I know at one point we were kind of bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah, we are kind of. We are technically paying off high interest debt because I'm trying to pay off the car.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we are
Okay.
also funding 529 account.
There we
You're
go.
dabbling
Right.
in some
that's-
other area.
When we look at this, we see some step 8 stuff, but then we also see some step 3 stuff, and then we don't have a whole lot of step 4 stuff. And so I think one of the things we'll be able to do is kind of like hone in on that and figure out where that is. Now, before we dive into that, because that kind of shows you where you guys are today, but you mentioned you've really just kind of taken this seriously in the last couple months, couple years.
A couple of years, yeah.
Walk us through the story getting here, right? Like, what was your prior history with finances like growing up? What was your background? You said that you guys came and it was sort of a blended family coming together. Walk us through how that was from like a financial perspective.
I was never good at budgeting or anything like that. I got really lucky when I started my job that someone told me, hey, make sure you get that company match. And I've been doing that the whole time.
That's great.
But that's it. I just did the bare minimum match, and then I ignored it until like after I met her. And one day she's like, hey, how much you got in that 401k? And I looked, and it's been like, 12 something years before I've even thought about it.
Yeah.
And there was like 85,000 in there.
Was your mind kind of blown away at
A little
that?
bit,
Like,
yeah.
okay, I just kind of set it and forget it and let these
yeah.
and holy cow, I've got almost 6 figures of something I didn't even have to think about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That in and of itself is a testament to what money can do when you leave it alone and let it do the thing that it's supposed to do.
Automatic for the people. If you just let it happen and do its thing, it really is an amazing thing.
But like that's my story. That's where I got where I am now. I would take my expenses and list them out and say, okay, here's how much money I have to buy car parts, or there's a car I've been looking at, I can save up for a couple months and get it, that sort of thing. It was like balancing a checkbook, But no, there wasn't a budget per se.
That small decision, though, I love that, because that's a part of our big saying is small decisions create massive results for the future. And I love just hearing that one little decision, somebody nudging you.
They did.
Hey, go sign up for the 401k, get the match. I mean, we're going to blow your mind at the end of this to show you a plan to get you through some of this debt. You're about to share your story. You probably feel a little behind in some areas.
Yeah.
We're going to show you a path out in that little decision. It's going to be a bunch of little decisions, but it's still so exciting, and I can't wait for us to share it with you.
I can't stress how unimportant that felt too when I did it back then.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, fine, I'll just, someone told me to do it, I'm going to do it.
You choose your hard. You chose it's easy the younger you start.
Oh,
your hard doesn't have to be until we're going to get to the hard in a little bit, though.
That's right.
I had my daughter 2 weeks after graduating high school. So she's been a big part of it. And it took me 8 years to then get my bachelor's degree. And in that time, I then had my second kid in there. I'm very, very grateful. My parents let me live with them. So that I didn't have to worry about living necessarily. I got my first job after college. Oh my gosh, I am going to be all emotional.
It's okay. It's okay.
And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So I lost that job. I met him in the middle of that. Took a long time to find another job. And I actually found another job in Kansas because I was living in California at the time. I moved out here, and then I went back to school for my MBA. I got my current job with my MBA. So it was great. I like doubled my income. I got all these great benefits.
It's remote.
It's remote. Yes, that is the best part. With the kids, being remote is great.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is, I imagine if you were going to write your story early on in life, you might not have written it the exact way that it turned out. So certainly from a financial perspective, some things happened that went differently than you thought, and it was pretty difficult, I would say, right? Like what you're describing to me sounds like a very hard road to go down, but you did do some things like you took 8 years to go get your bachelor's degree, but you got your bachelor's degree. And you
stick with it is amazing there. You're not giving yourself enough credit.
Your master's degree. And here you are at 32 years old. And even though it's not been the easiest path to get here, you've still been doing the things like, hey, I made the company match. Well, then I woke up during maternity leave and I started paying attention to my finances. And I recognize, even though the path was not as easy as maybe I wish it would have been, or it didn't go exactly the way I thought, I recognize that right now I can impact what the future path looks like.
Yes.
And I think that's amazing because I think so many people out there have that exact same story. Hey, so life went differently than I thought it was going to go, but where I am today, I know I can't go back and change the past decisions. What I can change is what I do moving forward. And that's exactly where you are. And I think that's awesome.
Our goal, like we told you before we turned the cameras and the lights on, was we want you to come out of this better and feeling like you have a path forward. But this one stuck with me when I was reading through the notes. It said, this is what you had shared with the team. I feel like I have dragged my husband backwards financially with bringing 2 kids into the relationship and no savings or 401k before the last 3 years, while he's been contributing to a 401k for the last 12 years. Now, y'all seem like, just in the short time, I don't feel like you're holding any grudges or... I mean,
I don't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
He doesn't. This is all me.
It's just something you're trying to process.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, and I can tell you're hard on yourself just by these quotes. Guilt around having a 13-year-old growing up too fast and not getting the same opportunities as her younger siblings. Now, we saw her. We've met her. She seems lovely.
She's a fantastic kid.
Have you ever heard of desired difficulties? It's not that you want bad things to happen to you in life, but sometimes you find out that bad moments in life can actually create positive things. We're all going to have struggles in our life, but I often think about what's funny is my own mother. We were having a conversation. Anybody who's read Millionaire Mission, you know that my father was laid off. We had a bunch of financial difficulties when I was a kid in middle school. And my mom just in the last week had said, I just sometimes feel like I was too hard on you guys for the wrong reasons. And I said, I'll stop you right there. I was like, what you don't realize is that sometimes in hard moments, some of the best things come out of it. I would ask you, as we make it through the process, we're going to give you the financial answers. You're going to see how you get yourself out of this. But you need to be better to yourself to know it's okay. And you got a husband that loves you and y'all have got to go create a plan. This is going to be awesome. It really is. And I want you to forgive yourself or at least let yourself go to enjoy the moment as much as possible.
Well, what I love is as you sit here right now, you are in this position to change. You are in this position to change the direction you're heading. And what's awesome is you have actually already laid out for us a plan that you guys have, sort of based on some of the decisions that you've made and how you're kind of trying to right this ship. And one of those things you already mentioned was around debt payoff. You said, hey, we have this goal of how we're going to pay off the Subaru and then we're going to pay this stuff off. And we thought it was great. So if you look at your current debt payoff plan, based on the way that you're paying, now we know that you're about to have some daycare costs that are going to come your way. And that, again, that's expensive. We know that. But for the next 2 months, we don't have those daycare costs. We know that we have some free cash flow, $700 for the next 2 months that eventually will be consumed by daycare. But right now, we can throw at the debt. And then you also have a bonus coming your way. The after-tax amount's going to be about $3,300. So again, you have some capital coming your way, which is wonderful. So if you take those and you throw those at the debt and you keep paying the minimum payments, you have this really great plan in place where you can see that you'll have all of this debt paid off in 4 years and 8 months, right? So let's just pause for a moment there. There is a plan for you guys to get out of debt, right? But I think it's something we can improve upon.
Yeah,
I think
it feels like a long time.
I think it's something that we can make a little bit better. And one of the things we have to do is really think through the debts that we have. Now, we already showed you on the net worth statement that both of you have some student loan debts. And in our opinion, not all student loan debt is created equal. If you're working through the financial order of operations, there's step 1 and there's step 2 and then step 3 is high interest debt. Well, not all debt is high interest debt. And when it comes to student loans, in our opinion, not all student loans are high interest debt. So we actually broke out your student loans, each of you, to show you kind of what we would consider to be the high interest ones versus the low interest ones. We have this rule of thumb that we say, if you're in your 30s and the interest rate on your loan is above 5%, that probably qualifies as high interest debt. So those should be like step 3 things. Anything that's not above 5%, that's probably not step 3. That's probably like step 9, low interest debt, or something you focus on later on, like maybe once you get into your 40s. And so you can see that when we look at your high interest debt here, you have about $28,000 of student loan debt, plus you have the $29,000 of auto debt. So we have some things we know we want to begin knocking out. And your plan in place will have you move through this over the next 4+ years, right? So we said, okay, what if we could improve upon that, right? Because we asked you, hey, where do you think you are in the FOO? And you said, well, I know that I'm in step 3, but I'm in step 3 and I'm also I'm also doing this one over here, and I'm also doing, one of the reasons that we designed the financial order of operations was to tell you what you should do with your next dollar. And it's about the very best use of your next dollar. So we think realistically there's a strategy available to you guys where you could redeploy some of your dollars, where if you were to adjust how you right the ship on the FOO, you're going to have an opportunity to knock that debt out a whole lot quicker. Does that sound...
Sounds wonderful.
Does that sound interesting?
Yes.
Does that sound intriguing?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let me walk you through our plan of what we think would look practical from a debt payoff.
This is when I get excited.
So-
this is fun.
So right now, we know that, Aaron, inside your 401k, I think you're putting like 10% in your 401k.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be putting in 10%, right? You get an employer match, and your employer match has a required contribution of what was it, 6%?
6%.
Yep.
So you've made the decision, hey, I want to save more than that. I'm going to save 10%, but you only have to save 6% to get your maximum employer match, right? So one of the things we think that could likely make sense is, hey, maybe we should decrease your 401k contribution to just get the max. Again, we're working through the FOO. Step 2 is maximize employer match, then start paying off high interest debt. You kind of jumped all the way to step 6 by putting 10% in.
We love saving for retirement, don't get us wrong, but you guys need to triage your personal situation now. And I think you'll find if we can do just some short-term attack this high interest debt, you're going to be able to come out the other side of it stronger and better to throw more at retirement in the future. Because I don't want to minimize how important it is to save for retirement. It's kind of like your small decision just to get the match got you to this point. But we do need to take a slight step back so we can focus, triage, as I say, the most important thing in your life right now. So I just want to put that, because I didn't want anybody out there in the audience to watch this and go, man, they're cutting back their retirement. Yes, and sometimes in life you have to take a step back in the FOO. It's not a walking up a stair step. It's actually, you might have to pull back to adjust for life's events. And that's what we're doing today.
That's surprising. See, I got tricked into raising that to 10%, because when you log into the Vanguard website,
Do you want to
you're going to
increase
have a
it?
shortfall.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
And I'm like,
you are if you don't
want
change
to.
it. Now, if you're
Yeah.
this is a temporary triage
right.
moment. We're fixing where you got some leaks in the system, and then we're going to come at it with even harder force, because we recognize that's why it's got. But I need you to feel some pressure on this too. Is that it is not a good thing to cut back the 401k.
Right. Yeah.
This is a temporary measure to stop taking on the water of debt and all these other things that are stealing the money from you.
And Caitlin, it sounds like you're doing the same thing right now. You're putting in 10% into your 401k also, which normally would be wonderful, but it's more than what's required to get your match. In order to maximize your match, you only have to put in 8%. So you are, again, you're in step 6 when you should be in step 3. So one of the recommendations we're going to make is to decrease your 401k contributions. And then it also looks like you have $50 a month going into an after-tax account. Now we're at like a step 7 over here, kind of, right? So we think that if we can restructure some of these, right, decrease the 401k contributions, do away with the brokerage account, and then this one is a hard one. We know that right now you guys are saving about $400 a month to your 529s.
Very noble.
Which is awesome. We love our kids. We want to be able to provide for our kids. We want to be able to provide them opportunities. But when we look at your financial situation and where the dollars could be best utilized, I don't think 529s is the answer right now. And it's not a no, never. It's just a no, not right now. Those dollars might be able to be used elsewhere. So
how does that make y'all feel, though?
Makes me very nervous.
It hurts too, doesn't it?
It does,
Because
especially
you feel like you're not doing
for the
everything you could.
13-year-old
Yeah.
who doesn't. She's about to be in high school.
And she's so awesome. But use that power that you're feeling right now to also motivate you to do this that much faster. It is good to fund the 529, but you have to take care of your finances first. Otherwise, what is the future hold if you're setting her up that y'all are going to have shortfalls in the future? That's going to make you do this that much faster.
Yeah, especially since starting funding the 529s was like a big step for
But
me.
you do realize the 529s are bigger than your savings account right now.
Yes.
that's a problem. What
are we going to do?
Somebody said,
What are we going to do?
I didn't pay attention to that. That's interesting.
Okay, keep going.
If we do this, if we decrease Aaron's 401k contribution, still going to get the match, and we decrease Caitlin's 401k contribution, still going to get the match, and we decrease the brokerage contribution, and we reshift the 529 savings. So instead of putting in the 529, we now have it going towards debt. What's actually happened is pretty amazing. You're still saving. Like you still, because you're putting enough to get the match, and with those matches, you guys still have almost a 13% savings rate.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're cutting your savings all the way down to the quick. You're just cutting them down to the minimum threshold. You're still going to be having 13% go towards building for the future. But with doing that, you now have an extra $884 every single month that you can throw at debt. And by the way, this did not change your cash flow. These monies were already going in one direction. You're just shifting into what direction they go now. So $884 additional dollars going towards debt. Pause there for a moment.
Didn't realize it was that much.
Right? Like you think about some of those debts you have. Imagine if you had almost $1,000 knocking them out every single month. You can like physically see those numbers start to decrease. All right, so we had your plan about how you were planning on paying off the debt. Let me show you what happens when you implement our plan. If you were to do this, and we're going to talk about the budget in a second, because if you can do this, and then we can look at your budget, and you could come up with an extra $500 a month. We haven't changed any cash flow yet. We just shifted, but we do want to change our cash flow and have an extra $500 a month that could go towards debt. If we do that, we have the $700 for the next 2 months before daycare going towards debt. We have your bonus. We throw that towards debt. We redirect to realign with the financial order of operations, and we can find $500 a month extra from the budget. Look at what happens to your payoff date.
Do you see how fast that is?
Instead of taking 4 years and 8 months to be debt-free except for your mortgage and low-interest debt, you now have it all paid off in 1 year and 11 months.
Doesn't seem quite real.
2 years
2
from
years
now.
is doable,
Yeah.
isn't it? You can do anything for 2 years
That
if you had
means
to.
no
All
car-
the things you've had to struggle with, that took you 8 years, but I know you have tremendous stick with it. So you can do 2 years like in your sleep. That's nothing for you guys. We're going to dive into where is this $500 going to come from. But the big thing is I want you to take the energy of, man, I want to get back to funding the 529. I want to get back to the retirement to be the power, because we're going to pick on you a little bit too.
Yeah.
And Bill, I'll let you kind of lead us into the next transition. But I'm worried you guys have just been tracking your expenses, thinking you're budgeting, but you're tracking. You're not really budgeting, and we can explain.
We're trying really hard. I mean, she has a budget. It's a great budget. Like it's like 100 pages long, and we're doing. We're doing pretty good. But you're right. We're not like sticking to it great. We just live a hectic life. Like there's always
I get it.
something coming up.
You're in the
that
messy
we're paid
middle.
for. It's almost every week.
Well, let
there's
me ask you this
something.
quick, because I think this will be valuable for other people who hear this. When you put together your budget and you say, I'm going to make up a number. Hey, we're going to have $100 eating out this month. That's our budget.
Yep.
What happens when it's the 15th or 16th of the month and you hit that $100, and the next time you go to wherever it is, do you not spend money, or do you just, we're going to go over the budget this month?
It becomes we can take this from somewhere else.
Right. So that's where it becomes tracking, because what happens is, and we all fall prey to this, like we'll put all of our expenses, we'll categorize them. all right, this is going to be $500 a month. And when I get to the end of the month, I look back and it was $762. I'm like, oh, I missed it. Like that's one of the things we have to do is we have to figure out, okay, how do we actually build a budget that we can stay within? So you guys are great. You provided us a list of your expenses. We thought it'd be helpful to kind of look through those. And we did some of the work for you. We went ahead and color-coded, categorized them into what we call needs versus wants. And here's what's great. You guys have a great shovel.
Good income.
We look at your take-home pay. You have over $9,000 a month of take-home pay coming from the two of you. Mm-hmm. So you have opportunity here. So we put together this list of needs and wants. And what we're trying to figure out is, okay, how do we find $500? Now, we went ahead and gave you the benefit of the doubt. Daycare, we went with a new daycare amount. So you'll see that very bottom of needs, $1,350. We went ahead and factored that in, right? So I just want you guys to look through this. Where are some areas that we can trim, or where are some things that you see like, man, okay, all right, school lunches. I'm assuming that's paying for lunch at school. Yes. Is there an opportunity? Oh, maybe we make lunch once a week, twice a week. Is that a thing that could happen?
Let Ellie have she chooses the days that are the days that she'd really like to, because maybe it's pizza day
like
at
Fiestada
school.
Pizza. Remember the Fiestada Pizza,
Taco
right?
Tuesday, or whatever. But there's just get creative with ways that you can trim that down a little bit.
The 9-year-old very much enjoys packing her lunch every single morning.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So she does do that one.
Awesome. Okay.
So the thing with that is we're already pushing our groceries budget. It's like, can we? Can we make that work?
And then obviously there are some things that we want to be mindful of. Like one of your biggest wants is kids activities, right? Well, here's what we don't want to say. Hey, don't let your kids do any activities. But you do have to be realistic around, okay, are the kids' activities the ones that make sense for them to be doing? Are they doing too many? I know sometimes my wife and I had I got my kid doing 3 different things all in one season. I'm like, hey, maybe we could rein this in a little bit and focus on one thing in this moment. We're not saying that we want you to cut those things out, but we are saying that, again, we're going to show you how long this is going to take. This is short-term pain, short-term pain. But if the kids' activities are something, hey, we're not willing to waver on that. That's not something that we're willing to waver on. That's okay. The beautiful thing about a budget is you get to decide what's important to you. You get to decide the things that matter and the things that you can do away with. But if you're not going to cut kids' activities, maybe fun money isn't so fun anymore. Or maybe other needs to be no other, right? Like you have to figure out where that $500 can come from. So as I'm kind of talking through this, are you have some ideas? Like, okay.
Well, kids' activities, 300 of that is for competitive dance.
Oh, yep. That'll
We
do it.
discussed it.
That'll do it.
Which has been discussed.
That'll do it.
Look, I'm not going to tell you to cut out the dance and stuff or other things, but if there's just anything extra, I know, because going back once again, when I was younger, my parents had to sit me down because I had something going on every day of the week. Piano lessons one day, baseball the next, and then finally they're like, my mom was, not only was it costing them financially with money they didn't have, but my mom was turning into, this is before Uber, but she was essentially transportation, director for everything that was going on. So we're just saying, trim it down. And here's the thing, I'll go ahead and introduce, we want you to be doing what's called zero-based budgeting. Meaning that, because that's where you guys, it's back to the point, y'all are tracking, you're doing the hard work of tracking, but you're not holding yourself accountable to where I feel like there's this pressure that creates the success. It's back to Bo's example, is that just like the coffee. I mean, I know that you like to go get the coffee.
I actually did cut that out.
But and I'm not saying you have to cut it out completely, but there's this thing about scarcity. It's kind of like whenever I've done any type of fasting or anything else, is that when you get to actually, when you create a scarce element, do you know how much more you enjoy it when you do get to do it versus take it for granted when you just do things all the time at a lot of frequency? So, I mean, that's why everything we're going to talk about on here is gamifying the system. Because we remember 2 years. We're talking, if you guys hit this hard and you gamify this where every month y'all are sitting down as a couple and you're saying, let's look at what we actually budgeted, not just tracked, but budgeted to spend. Did we go over? What were we under? Because then you get to move the pieces around where you celebrate. Maybe you celebrate. You say, hey, we were so good on saving this much. let's go. It's okay if we do go out to eat this month so we keep our energy up, we keep our motivation, but you got to gamify the system. And y'all talk about it as a couple and celebrate the successes, but then also keep kind of I don't care if you have a calendar, it's like a prison sentencing. You're like literally putting tick marks on the calendar, is if we can reach this and put the dollar amounts on each month of how much you exceeded the savings, you're going to turn this into a fun activity. The hard stuff, what I love is when I've talked to entrepreneurs, I've talked to people, sometimes when you say, what were your favorite memories? And I even talk about this in the book as well. It can be some of the hardest times of your life because you're in it together. That's why you hear about couples who moved to brand new cities and they know nobody, but their marriage got stronger, is because the adversity of the situation actually brought them together to feel like they were in this and tackling it. Can you imagine? I just want you to daydream and visualize what it's going to feel like 2 years from now. We're going to show you the numbers, and you just ought to print these things out. We'll send you the PDF and just hang them up right next to that calendar where you're doing the prison mark-offs, and you're going to be like, we did it. I mean, and that's why we can't wait to probably even do an update show and just say, look how good Aaron and Caitlin have changed their lives with just 2 years of sacrifice.
And you guys have done the hard work of you even put together categorically how much you want to spend. So even if you said, hey, guys, look, these numbers are bare bone. This is as low as we can get them. Because Brian mentioned you're not zero-based budgeting, there's still an unaccounted for $370 every single month that does not fit in one of the categories
that's how
that you've
knew
defined.
You were going over and just going, oh, it'll be all right.
So if all you did was stick to the numbers here, that's 370 to 500 you've already found.
That's true.
Well, now all you got to do is find an extra $130 somewhere throughout the course of the month. So that's going to be one piece of your homework is, hey, we got to find $500. How can we find that extra $500? Because then it gets pretty exciting. We already told you that we're going to trim down the debt. And I want to show you a visual, right? If you think about debt being a mountain and how long it's going to take you to walk down the mountain, this is your plan. November of 2029 is how long it's going to take for you to walk down that mountain of debt. But if you can make these hard decisions and you can make these adjustments, watch how much quicker you get to the bottom. February of 2027, right? Like that takes a ton of time off. And remember, our goal is to get you back to building, back to where you want to be, because we've already established that you're in step 3. So everything should be focused in step 3. Quick pop quiz. What comes after step 3 of the financial order of operations?
The fully funded emergency
Fully
fund.
funded emergency reserve. So then once we get to February of 2027, before we can start building, before we can increase the savings again, then we got to focus on that emergency fund. Now, we've used your budget and we figured out that for 6 months of living expenses for you guys, it's probably cash on hand of $48,000, right? That's about $8,000 a month burn rate for 6 months. So if you just take all the money that you freed up from debt, because now you're debt free, and the $500, and you have about $2,400 a month that can go to that emergency fund starting in February of 2027.
By the way, we just didn't make up that number. That is actually how much you will have available, because you won't have the debt, the interest that's being paid on the student loans. That's not a random number. That's the number that will just be now free and available for you guys to start saving for the future.
So it will only take you 1 year and 3 months to build up to $48,000 in cash in a fully funded. So we were at 1 year and 11 months to get debt free, plus 1 year and 3 months now to have a fully funded emergency fund. So that is 3 years, roughly 36 months before you are righted on your ship and in the position where you get to move forward towards your great, big, beautiful tomorrow. How's that? First of all, how's 3 years sound?
We're still less than the first.
I know.
You still want to be debt free, right?
And you're close to debt free at that point.
But here's what I think is awesome. Because the FOO is structured the way that it is, and because you still are getting your employer match and you're still putting your money to work, we thought it'd be super fun. Okay, we saw what your net worth statement looks like today. What's it look like in April of 2028? What does your net worth statement look like if we stack up where you are today versus where you are if you implement this? And we said, hey, we're just going to follow the debt payoff plan. We're going to assume that our 401ks can make 8% on average over the next 3 years. We're going to say, hey, the house appreciates in value by 3%. Cars depreciate, get less valuable. And for all the low interest debt, we're just going to keep doing the minimum payments, just like we're doing. If you guys can do that 3 years from today, when you look at your net worth statement, instead of your cash only being at $12,000, now your cash is at $48,000. Instead of your investments only being at $121,000, Even though you decreased your saving, your investments will have grown to almost $230,000. Your cars and home are worth $298 because they've increased a little bit. They're worth $309. 529s, even though you're not putting any more money in them, you're not adding anything to them, they're still going to keep growing because that's the way compound interest works. They'll be worth almost $37. Your mortgage balance will have gone down to $146,000. You will have no car loans, completely zero, and your student loans, low interest student loans, are down to just under $19,000. So today, your net worth is $192,000. If you can implement this plan 3 years in the future, when you do your net worth statement, it could be worth almost $420,000.
How does that feel?
She's smiling good. So.
In 3 years?
In 3 years. If you guys get
jump.
serious about this, in 3 years, your net worth can double. And your debt load can cut down into a fraction. And your assets can still build. And you can take control of your financial life. Because right now, you're having to make hard decisions to figure out how to fix this. Once you get to this point, then, and this is the exciting part, you get to pick and choose what you do with your dollars.
I also want to give you another piece of good news. You know what else happens probably in 3 years? That $1,400 a month that's going towards daycare. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
So you know that our goal, once you get through this, once you get past step 4 and you get into step 5, 6, 7, our goal is for you to get to saving 25% of your gross income. And we already know that with your employer matches and with all the debt that you're going to be freeing up, hitting 25% is not going to be a difficult thing for you guys.
You're already doing 16 before we adjusted this. So you're not even that far off. So post daycare, it's going to be even easier.
And I want you to think, you have said, Caitlin, man, the life that was the last 10 to 15 years was different than I would have maybe designed it. Where I am today is what happened for those 10 or 15 years is going to define what my future looks like. And we think if you guys take this seriously, it doesn't have to, because watch what happens when you start saving 25%. 3 years from now, you will have $226,000 in your investment portfolio. You won't have any debt. You'll have a fully funded emergency fund. You'll have free cash flow. And if you can save 25%, we think that by the time you hit 45, your portfolio is going to be almost $800,000. By the time you hit 55, $2.5 million. And by the time you hit 65, normal retirement age, you guys could have a portfolio worth almost $6 million.
Wow.
Now,
This assumes no pay raises. This assumes no pay increases. This assumes no windfalls. This just assumes that, just like you said, hey, when I first started, I did the employer match and I set it and forget it. This is the same thing. 3 years from now, when you have righted the ship, you start saving 25%, you set it and forget it, you run your way from $230,000 to $6 million by the time that you retire.
Now, we went aggressive on behavioral things you guys need to do, but very conservative on the financial assumptions. Mm-hmm. So this could actually, because you're going to get pay raises, things will get better. But those pay raises and your aggressive behavior in this short-term period, because I know, Caitlin, you also have this goal of maybe at 45 transitioning a little bit on how, between raising the family and then workloads. Sure. We want you, the harder you hit this, the more deliberate you are with your behavior in this period. You need to be aggressive. It's going to give you more flexibility. And the other thing, and I want to get y'all's feedback, but I did want to draw attention to, we put on there because sometimes, you just run compounding growth. You see these big numbers. You need to inflation, pull it back to present value so you can see what this actually means for you. You take into account inflation. You can see these numbers still bring it into where if you stayed on this path, 6 figures of free cash flow coming to you guys in retirement, that's massive. That's not taking into account Social Security. That's not taking into account, I know you've got potentially a pension once you vest and all this stuff. So there's other cash flow. So that's why I think you'll have even more flexibility post 45 like you're hoping for, but you got to do the hard work now so you get those chances.
I had an expectation before I even married her what I wanted to retire with. Quick funny story, just a guy I work with when I first started there, just a union shop guy. He said, I'm going to retire with $1 million. And my first thought was, no way. Like,
that's so much
this
money.
Makes no sense. And I blew it off. And then after we kind of got into talking about all this stuff, it's like, I think I'd like to have like personally in my 401k, like with inflation and everything, like 2.5 or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, just to be comfortable. That
blows it out of the water.
Far exceeds what I expected.
We think
so.
you could do that with this plan by the time you get to age 55, right?
Yeah,
Like that's
absolutely,
what's amazing. And these are conservative assumptions.
I've always wanted it to hit like 3 to 4.
Yeah.
And so for that to hit close to 6 is a little mind blowing.
So here's the question: can you do it? We've laid out what's possible, but we've done our part of the equation, showing you what can be done. We've given you the steps to do. Now the question is, can you guys do it? Can you make the hard decisions over the next 3 years to find the $500 and to decrease the savings and to redeploy the dollars to start moving you along on this path?
Yeah. I mean, we're both committed to getting that debt paid off as soon as possible.
It's going to be small little moments, just like Aaron, you sharing that coworker who just said, hey, just make sure you do the 401k.
Yeah.
That's going to change your life. And now I think it's going to be one of those fun things, hopefully 3 years in the future. It's going to be like when Caitlin says, hey, I applied for this show. Should we do it? And y'all are going to look back and go, that small decision has been now another, is not even a branch of the tree. It's potentially the root of the tree that grounds this thing to create a level of success that you guys never thought was possible.
Right.
It's amazing.
All right,
It really
before I give you your homework, any questions for us? Anything we left outstanding you want us to speak to?
My 401k contributions go into the Roth 401k. And I know you guys love the Roth IRA, but is there like really a difference between the two?
So there are some differences. The biggest of which that exists for you right now today is that, remember, we're going to go backwards in the FOO. We're going to go to step 2, get the employer match. So yours has to go in your 401k so that you get that employer match. 3 years in the future, when you're now saving that 25%, you've moved through step 4, now you're in step 5, we can talk about, okay, when I increase my 401k, should I increase it in the 401k or should I do a Roth IRA? And there are merits to both, but I'm thinking if you guys can put this in place, it's not going to be an either or for you. It's going to be a both. But that is a conversation for 3 years in the future.
But we do like that you're choosing the Roth with where y'all are from an income standpoint and your ages. I think you choosing the Roth side of it is a good thing.
Yeah, I got that one from my dad. They retired, and my dad's like, I play with where I'm pulling money from in retirement
It's
to
awesome,
like
isn't it?
figure out taxes and stuff. So I'm like, okay, then I want the different ones so that I can do that too.
I love it. All right, here's your homework. Step number 1, we got to fix your FOO. That's what I'm calling step number 1. That means we got to decrease our 401k contributions for both of you. We're going to shut down the $50 a month brokerage contribution. We're going to shut down the $529 contributions. And then we're going to take all of those and we're going to apply them towards our debts. And we're going to go with the avalanche debt method. That means we're going to list out all of our debts. We're going to start with the highest interest debt first. We're going to pay it off until it's gone. Then we're going to go to the next highest, next highest, next highest. In addition to that, you guys are going to sit down with your budget and you're going to find another $500. You're going to take that $500, same thing, apply it to the debt. We're going to go avalanche method. We're going to knock it out, knock it out, knock it out. We're then going to get through all the debt. Next step of homework, we're going to build our emergency fund. Based on what we think your spending is, your goal is going to be $48,000 that's going to sit in a high yield account, earning interest that you're not going to touch, and that's going to cover 6 months of living expenses. Once you've done that, then you get to go off to the races. You're going to start saving 25% for your future. And the last homework item I wrote down was this is going to change your life. It's going to change what your future looks like if you guys can do this.
Caitlin, Aaron, thank you for coming on the show. This has been an absolute blast. Bo, if others out there see this and they're motivated to want to come on Making a Millionaire, how do they do that?
Yeah, if you are a millionaire or a millionaire in the making and you'd like to be on the show, you can go to moneyguy.com/apply. Or if you just want to access some of our free resources, you can go check out moneyguy.com/resources.
Guys, there is a better way to do money. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Brian Preston, Mr. Bo Hansen, Money Guy team, out.